This is Tyrese Halliburton, and you're listening to Setting the Pace.
Well, hello there, Pacer Nation, and welcome back to another episode here of your go-to Pacers podcast. And today, this is where all the money is put on the table. Facci and I are going to be giving our Eastern Conference standings predictions for the upcoming season. Facci, was this exercise harder than finding one word for each player?
I'd say so.
I agree.
You know, look, like with this, obviously we're not going to go through everyone's schedule and start pinpointing all 82 games, but you look at this and you're like, okay, well, where did they finish last year? What improvements have they made? Who have they lost? You know, what can you factor in terms of just like their window of competing, anything like that? The youth taking a next step. There's a lot to factor in, and a lot of times, you and I were talking off air. In the Western Conference last year, the 3 seed to the 8th seed was separated by 2 games.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. So a lot of these teams, you might have them 1 or 2 spots lower, but in reality, they might have the same record as a team that's 2 spots above. So we'll see how things shake out, but this was definitely pretty tricky to figure out.
Yeah, I told you this yesterday. I was like, man, I did this Sunday afternoon, and I felt like I could get the bottom decently okay and the top decently okay, but from like 4 to 12, I felt like it was just, it was all clustered up. I could not feel great. I actually changed my thoughts like 6 times on how I thought it would play out. I was like, man, I could see this, I could see that, I could see that. I started writing it down with my pencil. I was like, nah, I got to erase. I don't like that. And I settled on something that I don't love, but I'm here to discuss it. So I'm curious to see where we land in this whole entire thing. But let's get started here at number 15. Facci, we'll work our way up to the top. Who do you have as the worst team in the Eastern Conference?
In the Eastern Conference, I think it's the Nets. They're just downright awful. I just don't even think they're trying to be good. They still have $15 million in cap space. Like, think about that. They won't even pay their leading scorer. Like, I just think that in this situation for the Nets, it's almost like you're not even trying. You're just like, you know, they kept all their draft picks when people thought they might make a trade. So I got the Nets as number 15 in the conference.
All right. Believe it or not, Facci, I actually have a team that's going to finish worse than the Nets. And that's Milwaukee Bucks. I'm just kidding. No, it's the Brooklyn Nets. I think they're going to be the worst team in the Eastern Conference. There's no doubt about that. I don't believe in that group, and I think that they're trying to actively tank, which is probably the right decision for that team because they don't have any direction. And with the Cam Thomas thing sitting kind of over their head, like he's probably their best player currently on the roster, they're just, they're not very good.
They're just not. This is Utah Jazz-esque without facilitating trades.
What did they draft? Like 5 rookies?
Dude, they did. They drafted. Yeah, like nobody knows what they're doing because it's like, okay, like this is kind of strange. Like you're gonna be really bad, but like I guess if they get the number 1 pick, it'll all be worth it. But for right now, like it's not even like the Jazz where, like I mentioned, like you have like a Lauri Markkanen or someone there, or like some other younger players that you really could believe in, like, you know, I don't know, top 5 or, you know, whatever top picks. I feel like with the Nets, like they're just downright awful right now.
This is like equivalent to trust the process 76ers.
Yes, I agree with that. Like the Jazz at least have some sort of foundation. The Nets literally have nothing. So we'll see what happens. The fact that like they couldn't give Cam Thomas some sort of deal, I don't know, $15 million, $20 million a year. Like apparently it was just pretty much sign their restricted free agency offer or nothing. So, but anyway, hey, that's their problem. Next at number 14, I got the Washington Wizards. I think that like I would like to believe that you probably got them there too. They keep striking out on the number 1 pick, but they're also going to be sellers. You still have veterans on this team. People might forget CJ McCollum, Chris Middleton. They're on this team right now, but not for long. They dumped Marcus Smart for absolutely nothing. And then on the rest of this roster, it's a lot of young players. They have many 20 to 23-year-olds that have a lot of potential but need playing time. Therefore, I cannot see the Wizards being anything better than bottom 2 in the East. And that sounds like the bar set pretty low.
Yeah, and I don't really know how much they want to win. You know, I think they want to keep establishing a culture there, but I also feel like their job as a franchise is to get the most talent possible. So I really do believe that if you're Washington, you're just trying to figure it out and let these young guys develop and get that talent together. But you do need veterans there, in my opinion, to
for a little bit,
kind of, you know, to kind of help you out. So that's where I'm at with this group. We've seen the Pacers before, like when they were like going through their tank, like they still needed veterans to kind of help show the way. And when you have just a bunch of young guys and no leadership, it doesn't bode well for team building. And that's what I think Washington's doing. So anyway, I'm right there with you in agreement. Number 14 is Washington.
Yeah, I think it's the last thing in Tybo on that is like they've been gunning for the number 1 pick for the last 2 years. They've struck out. Alex Sarr is just not really like a franchise type player. And then last year they had the worst record in the NBA. They slid all the way down to the 6th pick. That sets you back a few years. So I think that this time they're going to try and make sure that they tank as hard as they possibly can. But next on the list, I have the Charlotte Hornets. I think at this point, it's just an odd roster. It's not a winning culture. Eventually, I feel like they probably are going to have to move off of LaMelo Ball. If he's your franchise guy, I kind of feel like you're stuck towards the bottom because he's like a me type player. He'll put up stats that really just don't lead to winning.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Hornets, I saw our friend Tony East say the Hornets are going to be better than people think they'll be this year. And I'm just trying to figure out what exactly that means. I know they got Colin Sexton.
Yeah.
I know that they have some decent vets at center and Mason Plumlee, and they've got who's the other center? Diabite, something like that. I forget his name.
Yeah, something like that. I know they traded, Mark Williams, and it's just like you look at that roster and Con Knippel that they just drafted. I just feel like to me was such a like plain type pick for that. Like there's a major belief that Ace Bailey said that he did not want to go to Charlotte or anything like that. But like I think that would have been more of that type of sexier pick there. I feel like with Knippel, it's just like, okay, you got probably a pretty good player, but like feels like he has a shorter ceiling.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. So I'm with you on Charlotte. I like some of the young talent they have. Don't get me wrong. I don't actually hate the Colin Sexton trade either. I think that was kind of helpful. But the LaMelo Ball time, it just feels like he's on borrowed time at this point. Yeah. Don't love it. He can't stay healthy. And then Miles Bridges as well. Just like, what is Miles Bridges at this point? I mean, he's fine. He's a good player, but like Charlotte is like the place where careers go to die, it feels like.
I really do think so.
They're like more irrelevant to me than Brooklyn or Washington.
Yeah. Because Brooklyn,
just the way they're covered.
They have a direction though. Like, if you're Brooklyn, you're in a bigger market. It still hasn't led to anything. But, like, you'll be really bad, and you'll know that you were trying to be bad. I feel like Charlotte's trying to win, and they fall short every single year. They just have never had any sort of success in their franchise. For the Wizards, you could look at that roster and say, all right, they're bad, but they have a lot of young talent. A lot of young talent that, like, oh, man, I'm blanking on his name right now, who they just got from Houston. Got Cam, oh, man, the Wizards, who they just traded
Cam
for.
Whitmore?
Cam Whitmore. Like, I think Cam Whitmore could be someone who could totally put together like a solid, year for them. And all of a sudden it's like they got him for a bag of chips. So the Wizards will have some guys that will pan out. For Charlotte, though, like you really don't know. And until they decide if LaMelo's the guy or not, like they're going to be stuck in the mud.
Yeah.
So next, this is where maybe things get a little bit different. Like maybe they do between our lists. I got the Chicago Bulls.
Okay.
I just think I said stuck in the mud before for Charlotte. I think it's the same thing with the Bulls. I think last year they didn't have the opportunity to tank because they owed their pick if it fell outside of like the top 8 or 9. So I feel like they were forced to be a play-in team. They still haven't gotten Josh Giddey signed. They are a team that's like seems like they're trying to dump Vucevic for anything that they can. He's an expiring deal. That didn't work out. You doubled down, re-signed Patrick Williams. That backfired. I think he might have took a step back. So it's like they are just at this point where like the Chicago Bulls have not had a direction, I think, for the last 5 years. I think they've just been a play-in team stuck there, just middling, blowing in the wind. That's why I have them towards the bottom of the East.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you that they are in a weird spot because they have been for a while. And it's just this team never tries to lose.
Never.
They always try to win, and it doesn't really matter. Like they're like very content with being like a 7 through 10 team, and then if they don't get that and they're like 11, they're like, all right, we were almost there for the play-in. Like, let's run it back. And it's like, what is the direction of this franchise? I don't disagree with you having them lower, like wanting to have them lower, but I don't think I see them finishing 12th just because I think they want to win meaningless games too much.
And that's definitely true. I'm just wondering if the talent's there to do that. Like the Bulls,
I think it'll be there in the East because I think there'll be enough teams maybe trying not to win.
We'll see about that because there's some good teams that I have ranked above that are taking a step back. And I think that if you look at like the Chicago Bulls, like, yeah, like we said, like they are like obsessed. They're like addicted to being a playing team. They really are. There's something about that 10th seed that the 9th seed, they just love it. But I think that now I'm wondering like, I don't know. I mean, Vucevic probably gets dealt up. You know, you lose him to some of the other guys, you know, take a step forward. We'll see, but it's a little bit of a tricky spot. Next on my
Hold
list.
on. I haven't told you my 12.
Oh, what do you got? What do you got?
Yeah. I didn't put Chicago at 12.
What do you got?
I'm going with probably a stunner to a lot of people. We're shipping up to Boston.
Oh, I don't know about this.
I've got the Boston Celtics at 12, and here's why. Okay. I don't think Boston, talent-wise, is the 12th worst team in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, definitely not.
They traded away Drew Holiday. They traded away Kristaps Porzingis. They lost Al Horford in free agency, and they don't have Jason Tatum. That's 4 of your core guys that were on your championship level team. Okay, and we saw what those players did against the Pacers a couple of years ago. It's Jaylen Brown's team. It's Derek White's team. Peyton Pritchard's supposed to be starting. Who else is starting for that team? You know, Luke Garza. You know, like I'm saying like their front court is not great. And they don't have a lot of depth. Anthony Simons, they gotten a trade back. He's going to be coming off the bench. They've been talking about flipping him. They've been trying to save a bunch of money. I think that Boston is a very smart franchise. And what they're probably going to do, in my opinion, is kind of be on like that play-in cusp for the majority of the season. Then like the last 2 to 3 weeks, Jaylen Brown's going to have a bunch of injuries. Derek White's going to have a bunch of injuries. And I think they're going to end up losing games on purpose. So that way next season they can get a high draft pick that'll help with their core.
It would go a long way.
It would make it. They're a franchise that's done this before. We've seen them do it several times where they're not afraid to take a step back for 1 year, to take 2 steps forward. And I think this is exactly what Boston's going to do. I think they're going to. Wouldn't shock me if they get a top 3 pick in the draft next year. Just because of the way the lottery falls and just how Boston always has to have that luck. You know, they're leprechaun lucky. Like it's just, you know, Kyrie Irving can smash on it all he wants, but it still works. And I think that they're going to get the luck of the Irish, and I think they're going to get a top 3 pick, and everyone's going to be like kicking themselves, and they're going to go from having a role player that was making $40-some million in Drew Holiday to a rookie making like $10 million. It's going to help contribute to their next run for a championship. And Jason Tatum will obviously come back. So I feel very strongly in this.
All right. Hey, I'll respect your opinion. Might disagree, but at the same point, if they do it, hey, it's great. I mean, it's great for them. When they have bottomed out, they bottomed out right. Well, this is a team that when they bottom out, they make it count. You know,
Danny Ainge isn't there anymore. I should say that.
Yeah. But I will also say part of you know, when you think of those Brown and Tatum things, is the Nets being a really bad team. So those were the Nets picks, but obviously there was, if you go a long while back, you know, 2007 or so, when they really bottomed out and they got the pick and they traded big trade, bringing Kevin Garnett and all that.
Yeah,
so,
that's a good point too. They could trade it for somebody.
Oh, totally. I mean, totally.
They got themselves set up financially right where they need to be.
Yep. They really could. But we'll see what happens with that. Something to definitely keep an eye on. Next, I had on my list, I had the Toronto Raptors.
Yeah.
A little bit tough to predict. They have the talent. They really do have the talent to make something happen. Like Brandon Ingram hasn't played a game for the Toronto Raptors. You had him in there with Scotty Barnes and everything else that they have going on. Like maybe Grady Dick does take a step forward. Like obviously they still love Jakob Poeltl to the point where they're still re-signing them. Like there's guys on that team, but like the East is just better than Toronto is. And I feel like Toronto is that other team that like refuses to bottom out, but is still just kind of stuck in the middle.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you on how you view Toronto at 11. That's where I had Chicago. So everything you said about Chicago, I think Toronto is better than Chicago.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
So, and I think they have more talent overall as well. They're a little bit more of a complete team. Seems like they could be trying to like win again. It's really hard for me to really know what they are.
I know that's the thing. Like
too many wings.
Yes, and I do think that. Yeah, they are trying to be competitive. Otherwise, it made no sense to trade for Brandon Ingram when you did. It was kind of like, all right, well, maybe you're trying to get worse shorter term to get better the next year. Like, I don't know. I just think that when you take on that contract, you're trying to win. So
I would say 11's where I had Chicago, and a lot of the reasons you mentioned Chicago, I agree. Like, I just don't know what direction they're heading. And then for number 10 for me, Pachi, that's where I had Toronto.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're pretty close. Clearly, I guess
You haven't
you
told me
know,
your 10 yet.
you're lower, yeah, real quick. You're lower on Boston. I'm higher on Boston. Number 10, I got Philly. And a lot of this depends on Embiid's status. Like they could be lower on this list if Embiid really doesn't play this year.
They
But
could be higher though. That's the only thing that makes me like this
they're,
is a team.
they're probably the hardest to predict.
They could probably be anywhere from 3
I would say with that. Yes,
to
that's
12.
yes. I completely agree with that.
I hate this team so much because
could be so wrong on them.
I don't know where to
could
put
be.
them.
I know. I mean, you look at this Embiid, a top 2 MVP candidate for like 3 years in a row. Tyrese Maxey stepping into his prime. Paul George, obviously coming off of a bang. I saw something like Paul George was just voted. He was ranked like an 81 or something like that in 2K. It's
Oh,
like,
wow.
oof. Like that's when you know people are like, Paul George, he's washed. Like it's like, oof.
George Paul now.
What was that?
It's George Paul now.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. So I just think with Philly, hardest to predict. Could totally be wrong, or maybe they could even be lower on this list, like we talked about. So a lot remains to be seen, but the reports early on for Embiid have not been promising.
No, and that is why at number 9, Fachi, I've got the Philadelphia 76ers. So we're pretty much in alignment on everything besides I had Boston just slotted quite a bit down lower than you did. And the reason I have Philly at 9 is just because I don't know where to put them. And it's like I made the case in my head where I could put them at like 4 or 5, and I thought that like wouldn't that suck if you're Detroit and you get like the 4 seed and the 5th seed matchup you get is Philly and like Embiid's healthy? Like that would just suck for a young team because of how talented that Philly team can actually be when healthy. But that's the big key, when healthy. And it's just like you cannot bank on that. And like I like the roster overall. Like if you just look at it on paper, I'm like, dang, that's a tough team. That's a really good team talent-wise. But if you can't put it all together, it's just hard to find a place for them to fit. So I had them at 9, and I'm curious who you had at 9.
At number 9, I have the Miami Heat. I don't necessarily know what they're like. Is this finally the year that they maybe go, all right, you know what? Maybe we really don't have it. Like we hear that they're desperately trying to trade Terry Rozier. Desperately. Andrew Wiggins to me doesn't feel like a long-term fit there. I feel like this is a team that is just all right. And if we look at the play in the last few years, that's exactly where they've been. The last 3 years, they've been locked into the play-in. And right now, I just mentally cannot take them out of that play-in territory. It just feels like that's where they belong with this roster.
You know what's really funny is I kind of like the Miami Heat roster. Like,
I don't know.
It's interesting. I like Khalil Ware. I like Bam. I like Andrew Wiggins. I like Tyler Hero. I like Norman Powell. I like Mitchell. I thought he was good last year in the playoffs.
He was good. He was. Yeah, definitely.
So it's like, and they still have Jaime Jaquez Jr., who's okay. Like,
one quick thing on him. Jaime Jaquez was like playing really well, and then he just kind of fell out of the.
He had a bad sophomore year. It was a sophomore slump, kind of like a Chris Duarte sophomore slump.
Yeah. I mean, that was a guy that, like, as a rookie, was like, "Oh my God, Miami did it again. How did they find this guy?" And then he just kind of fell out of their rotation, and I was kind of surprised by that.
I'm trying. Who else did they get this year? I'm trying to think who else is on their roster.
You didn't mention Khalil Ware.
Yeah, I mentioned him.
Step forward. But in terms of the offseason, I don't really think they really.
Oh, Terry Rozier. They drafted Yaka. I forget how to say the guy's name. Kasparis.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I'm not gonna.
The really talented guard from Illinois.
Yeah.
And like he's a very talented player. Alec Burks is still there, obviously, like him. Pella Larson was good last year in the summer league. Simone Fontecchio, you guys know that I've always kind of had like a little crush on him. Other than that, nobody else really sticking out to me. Josh Christopher, like
it's just like who's your guy now when you don't have
Bam.
You score?
I would say so. They go to Bam a lot. Tyler Hero can score the basketball.
He can, but if Tyler Hero is like that's our guy. That's who our go-to guy. You don't
Norman Powell, baby. Oh, Jovic. How did I forget Jovic? Nikola Jovic.
Yeah,
he's good.
Yeah. I mean, I think overall they have like a good roster that kind of lacks like a go-to type of guy. And I think you knew what you were getting when you had Jimmy there. I think for right now, like I mean, I would say this. They have a lot of pretty good players. You know, like but they lack like you got Bam as your all-star, and that's it.
That's who I had at number 8, Fachi. So we're just one off of each other now ever since I put Boston at 12. So we pretty much would have been in alignment if I would have put Boston where you put them. But curious who you have at 8.
The real question is how high do I have Boston? Not
No,
much.
it's
I have Boston right here.
okay.
So
now
I have
we're-
Boston as the 8th seed.
we have the same top 7. That's really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah,
That's
it is. I
so
mean,
funny.
look, I mean, hey, great minds think alike. I'd say so. I guess we've been doing this for a
We've
while
been
together.
podcasting too long together. That's the
Yes,
problem.
yes, I would say so. And I promise you, everybody, we do not exchange lists. There's a good scenario.
Actually,
Where,
copies my paper.
yeah, right. So
You just
I think in
change-
that scenario,
Yeah, right.
hey, I ain't got time to be copying your paper. I was scrambling to do all my predictions on this. But I think with this, I think for Boston, I look at it similar to what you look at from an extent of, I believe everybody believes they're taking a step back. Everybody. They slashed like $250 million in payroll. It means you're taking a step back. But I think that at the end of the day, I guess there's just a part of me that's like, they're still Boston. You still have Jaylen Brown, who's extremely talented. Derek White maybe could take a step forward. Who knows? What else? Peyton Pritchard was the 6th man of the year. Like, maybe he steps up. Like, there's still some guys, and then they have a bad situation at center. But I think that, like, we've seen the Eastern Conference sometimes. Like, the 8th seed doesn't have to be a great team. Sometimes
Chris Boucher.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they did.
They traded George Niang, which I thought was crazy.
That was kind of crazy because I thought he could have been really good there.
That's why when they made that move after they made the original move, I was like,
says a
I'm
lot.
just kind of like,
It says a lot.
that's a good player
like
right there.
throwing in the towel for like we value cost
Next
cutting
year.
moves more than winning, and
They're focused on winning a championship, and they know that they can't win one next year, and that's why I think they're like, we can develop somewhat, but like to what extent? And like, can you still develop and then position yourself to get a better draft pick? Yes, that's the way the NBA is set up, and so that's what I think is going to happen. And they're one injury away, like legitimately one injury away to White or Brown to being no chance at competing in the East.
yeah. No, I completely agree. Like if Jaylen Brown misses 15 or 20 games, I think they're terrible.
They're
like
touched.
I just think that they're cooked. But the George Niang trade was like, really like, wow, oh my God, you really.
He's not that great, but he's just a really good role player.
He had a really good opportunity on the Celtics, and he's a really good 3-point shooter. And to this day, one of the crazier, like, how did that guy never even get a real chance in Indiana?
I know.
Like,
I kind of forget we drafted him.
End of the bench, nothing. Like, nobody even thought or hoped that he could be good. It was just like, whatever.
I was like, who's this chunky guy coming off the bench?
Yeah, now it's like I read a stat. He has like the most wins in the NBA over like
that's probably true. Or like what
crazy.
percentage?
Yeah, I don't know whatever it was, but he's just been on the right teams, been a winning player, all that.
Enjoy
stuff.
Utah, buddy.
That's gonna be tough for him. That's just a matter of time before he's like, get me on the first plane out of here. I'll take another team. It's hard to go from you have the most wins in the NBA over the last like 10 seasons, so you're going to a team that isn't even like attempting to try and win. That's gonna wear on you.
Yeah.
So all right. So going over to number 7 on my list. This was tough. This
is where you got him, don't you?
This is where I got him. This is where I got the Pacers.
Oh, Facci. Boo.
I know. I wanted to fight for 6. I really did. But I just felt like, you know what? Have the Pacers at 7. It's going to be tough. I just feel like there's just a little bit of unknown over here where I want to see how things shake out. I think that we've seen before that not that much separates 7 and 6 historically in the NBA. So there's a very good chance that the Pacers could be sniffing the 6th seed. And if things go right, maybe they are able to climb a little bit higher. But I was really torn between 6 and 7 for the Pacers. I couldn't rank them above 6. I didn't have any scenario where they were really below 7. So got them at 7.
All right. I don't have them at 7, Facci. I have another team at 7. Can you guess who I have at 7?
The Milwaukee Bucks.
The Milwaukee Bucks.
That's who I was torn with. And real quick, before I cut you off on here, my tiebreaker was who has the better player. And I just went, Giannis is the best player between those two teams. And I feel like that is worth something in today's league. That was my tiebreaker.
Yeah. Well, my tiebreaker was I like the Pacers more than the Bucks. And I want the Bucks to be the 7th seed because I don't want them to make the playoffs. I want them.
That is everything I tried not to do. I tried to don't speak with my heart because I easily could have been on here. Why not? Why not?
But I wanted to put them 8.
I know.
I wanted to put Philly higher. I really did. I thought about putting Philly at like 5 or 6.
You could have made an argument for either.
I debated that. Like that's how I felt probably last week before I made this and sat down on Sunday. And I was like, I just can't do it. Like I wanted to put Philly at like 5, Atlanta 6, and then Indy 7, Milwaukee 8. Like that's what I was thinking. And I was like, yeah, I can't justify putting Philly ahead of Indiana or Milwaukee
I couldn't do
with
it.
the uncertainty of those players that are a key part of their success. But I have Milwaukee 7, and I strictly just don't like their roster outside of Giannis. I know they've got shooting around him and people think they're going to be great. I just don't see it. I don't like they have no ball handler, and people can say what they want to about, oh, they got Miles Turner, they got this, they got that. They lost Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard was an all-star last year, if I'm not mistaken. And
Yeah.
he had a really good year last year. And you take away that level of a shot creator, who's doing that? Who is doing that throughout the 82-game regular season? Kevin Porter Jr., Gary Trent Jr., AJ Green,
Those are guys that are like
Cole Anthony.
niche players, like good 3-point shooters, but it's like no one could fill those shoes of Dame. So I look at it like there's a bunch of holes on that roster. I just think that as long as you have Giannis, you always have a chance. But when we're talking about the 6th seed versus the 7th seed, clearly nobody is too high on the Milwaukee Bucks. I actually read in terms of an ESPN article that was just put out, basically talking about teams that they think to take the biggest step back. The Milwaukee Bucks were number 1 on the list. So this is the exact thing. Team turmoil. Which team will take a tumble this season? The Milwaukee Bucks received the most points. So I definitely think that that's how people view them, but we also view them as, hey, look, like this is a borderline play-in type team.
Well, and let's also just think about it this way. Like, if Miles Turner is your second best player on paper, second highest paid player, Kyle Kuzma is your third, I get it. You got Bobby Portis. You got a decent amount of like role players around Giannis. That's fine. But what's been the biggest thing with Giannis? He's always needs someone else to kind of help him guard wise, whether it's Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, or Dame. I mean, he's always needed somebody like that to kind of alleviate some of the load. What's he going to do? Give Miles Turner the basketball to go in isolation? No. Like, who is going to be that helper for him? Can he even sit on the bench? Can they have success when he's not playing? They had that with Dame. That's kind of how Doc Rivers runs. I don't think Doc Rivers is one of these coaches that's like going to maximize the talent of his young players and put them in the right spots to like blossom and be like the next great thing. He's more of a veteran heavy coach that can get a team to buy into a system. And their system might work with Giannis, but he's going to play 40-some minutes. And how much wear and tear is that going to put on him throughout the regular season?
Way too much. And the funny thing is, when you talked about their top 2 highest paid players, the top 3 is Damian Lillard's name on a sheet of paper.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
It's like, that's just bad. That's real bad. That's like $22 million right there. So Bucks are in trouble. And I don't think Giannis is the type of guy that would demand a trade at the trade deadline. I feel like he would do his whole thing, like bad season happens, evaluate things, and then make a move in the offseason. But I definitely think that that's going to be what everyone's eyes are going to be on. Like, if the Bucks can really stumble and really get off to a bad start, those conversations are only going to heat up. So I have them at 6, but that would probably be, that's pretty rough territory to be in. And I think there's very much a scenario that if Indiana is able to be just a little bit better than people expect, I think the Pacers can easily jump them.
All right, so you had Milwaukee at 6, and now
Yes.
we're moving on to a number 5. Where do you got? Who do you have at number 5?
I got the Atlanta Hawks.
Okay.
I think for the Hawks, like, they're a team that has that like improved buzz to them. Like, I think people are starting.
Buzz.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they're yeah. Hey, yeah, that's what they got this year. And I think that people believe, and it's not just that it's Porzingis. Okay, like, could Zachary Ricochet, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah.
Take a step forward. Like, that's a number 1 pick. Think about it. That's the number 1 pick.
A healthy Jalen Johnson.
A healthy Jalen Johnson, who was having a very strong year last year before he went down. Like, you never know with Trey. Like, there's going to be the good, there's going to be the bad. But, like, I definitely do think that, like, this is a team that could be very well middle of the pack. And that's why I have them at number 5 in the East.
Nickeil Alexander-Walker is a big pickup for them as well with Minnesota.
He was like the prized free agent signing this year. Like, think about that. Rough free agency class, but they won the sweepstakes.
Yeah, this is one of those teams where I'm wondering if I'm too high on them.
You've been kind of a Hawks guy in the past.
I was a couple of years ago. I believed in them after they went on that run.
And they went flat like no.
Well, I thought that I really did believe in the DeJounte Murray pickup. I believed in them.
It had a lot of
had Quinn Snyder and brought in DeJounte Murray. I was like, I can see this. I can see it. As I think Trey's really good. His defense is lackluster. I get all that, but I think Quinn Snyder's still a heck of a coach, and they're kind of deep right now, which I like about them. They're kind of like Pacers-esque, where they maybe don't have the most elite level star, as they're like you could kind of say like Trae Young and Jalen Johnson is like Tyrese and Pascal light to a certain degree.
Sure, light.
And then you've got also like a lot of like nice fill-in pieces around it in terms of like a decent bench depth and whatnot. Like it's not like this is a team that's like, oh, we got 6 guys and this is our group. Like no, they've got 10 players that you probably feel comfortable with in the rotation. They lost Larry Nance Jr. That's to me is a somewhat of a loss, but Kristaps Porzingis is a very, very talented player when healthy. Like it's just he had a weird injury last year, missed a lot of time. So I don't know. This Hawks team to me is just they're good. They're not great. I could see them being anywhere from 5 to 8. Honestly, I just feel like
also,
what?
No, I was gonna say like let's also talk about Dyson Daniels being the most improved player of the year last year. Like he could take another step forward. Like I think he's just arrived. Like I'm just convinced that like, he's going to be a good player moving forward, especially defensively.
They've got a lot of good defenders around Trey, which I think is going to help. And I think Okongwu will probably start still next to Jalen Johnson and bring Porzingis off the bench. You don't have to rely on him too much. And I think you'll see Jalen Johnson and Porzingis play a lot together. I do. I know we got to move on here to get to our next team, but I don't know, just kind of talking through it with this team and talking about it out loud. Like, I don't love the players, but I like all the pieces around it. And that's why I said it was kind of Pacers-esque to me, because you might say, yeah, I like Ben Mathurin. I like Jarris Walker. I like Andrew Nembhard. You know, you don't think every single one of these players is great. Now, that's especially from an outsider's perspective. Now, if you're watching him every day, you're going to be like, oh, this guy's really good. He can do this, that, and that. You know, I get all the hype if you're a Hawks fan. So, yeah, I think 5's good. I think 5's a great spot for him.
I think so. And, yeah, I think Onyeka Okongwu, he could easily take a step forward. I mean, this is a guy who was like the number 5 overall pick a couple of years ago. Still waiting for him to really break out. This could very well be that breakout campaign.
Yeah.
But number 4 on my list, I have the Detroit Pistons. I think the Pistons are like a team that I don't think it was a fluke last year. I think that, you know, this is a team that you want to see, can they do it again? But it would be a little bit crazy to have them any higher, because like this is a Detroit team that for like quite a few years was at the very bottom of the East. So like this is like people are buying the hype of the Detroit Pistons, and I am one of them. I bought it. I don't have a receipt. I think Cade is going to be one of the next, you know, star guards in the East for a long time. And I think the 4th seed, home court advantage. Who thought they could have ever said this 2 seasons ago?
Let me ask you this. I think everybody would say consensus is Giannis is the best player in the Eastern Conference. Would you say Cade Cunningham's second best this season?
This season is an interesting season like that. Like it's like, you can maybe, I think Jalen Brunson's still in that category. Like he's definitely in the running. I think Cade is like the younger, higher ceiling type of player, but like I got to see more of it. We saw 1 year of it. I got to see a little bit more of it first.
Yeah, it's an interesting debate. I remember last year hearing a lot of people talk about in the Pistons Knicks series, who's the better player? Who's the best player on the court? And a lot of people said at times Cade Cunningham was the best player on the court, and that's against the Knicks. So I'm just curious if you think another year for him could make him better. I also just think defensively he can give you more than Jalen Brunson.
Yep.
And Jalen Brunson, to me, like he can get his assists, but he's like to me a straight scorer. Where I think Cade's more well-rounded, and that is why I think you can make the case that Cade is the second best player in the Eastern Conference if he reaches his full potential. But we're still kind of waiting to see that.
And here we are. The one thing I want to keep an eye on, because this is the big thing, is Cade Cunningham, if he can cut down his turnovers. So he averaged 9 assists, but he averaged over 4 turnovers last year. So it was 4.4 turnovers. So he's essentially just 2 assists to 1 turnover ratio. So I think that's something that he's really got to work on trying to cut down. If he does, I think the sky's the limit for him.
I like Detroit. I think they're interesting. I have them at 4 as well. I almost put them lower just because I don't want to overhype them, because they were the 6th seed last year. It's not that much further up, and I think teams got worse that were ahead of them potentially, but I don't know. I think they're interesting, but we can keep it moving here. Number 3, who do you got?
Number 3, I got the Orlando Magic. I mean, look, this is another one that I'm buying it. I'm buying the hype. I just think that the Magic have the young talent to all take steps forward. They've been built defensively. their weakness last year, 3-point shooting, a little bit sluggish on the offense. They had some injuries. If this team stays healthy, I think a top 3 seed is very much in the cards. I'm a little bit worried that you might have them a little bit higher, and I'm not quite ready to have the Orlando Magic as a 2 seed. I feel like that'd be a huge jump. Number 3 is where I feel like they could actually do it.
Well, have no fear, Facci, because I too am pulling rabbits out of my hat, and I have the Orlando Magic at number 3.
Okay, that seems we're lockstep, just like you said. I feel like the other 2 teams above them are just more experienced. They've been knocking on the door for a while. Number 2, I have the New York Knicks. I
we
think
are exactly in line with everything.
Yeah,
boring podcast. Boo.
I was a Boston pick away from having us basically have the same thing for the most part.
I know, it's crazy. I'm disappointed. Usually I have an off the wall pick. I didn't do it this year.
Yeah. I mean, I think we looked at this long and hard and tried to factor in the cold hard facts. But I think for the Knicks, like anyway. I think for the Knicks, they're the number 2 seed. I think they're good enough for that. It's where they.
I wasn't looking at nothing long and hard, Facci.
Yeah, nothing long and hard. Just completely, whatever. I can't even go off of that. You know what? I'm just gonna let it be. For the Knicks, I think they're a good team. I think that could they be the 1 seed? Sure. But I think that for the Cavs, they're just a little bit better, bringing back essentially the same roster. I think this is the Cavs team with a bad taste, that is going to be looking to get some revenge on the East.
I can't even talk at this point. As soon as you said it, I laughed. In the face you gave me when you realized that you made the joke like
that. Then I found myself going down the path of like, the Cavs got a bad taste in there, and I was like, all right, you know what? I'm not gonna go down this whole play on words type of thing. So that's what I got, and I'm gonna imagine you got the same thing.
Yeah, I've got New York 2 and I got Cleveland 1, and it's like, why did I pick the Knicks as 2 versus the Cavs? I played a lot of the factor into the fact that the new coach makes a difference. I think sometimes when you get a new head coach, like it takes a minute to adjust. I think Thibodeau is a very specific style of coach that they had a lot of success with. And I think Mike Brown is a very successful coach, but I also think that it's going to take some time for them to adjust. And I do kind of wonder if Jalen Brunson's dad, Rick, I think he was demoted a little bit in terms of his position, maybe not front of the bench. I don't know exactly what his role is, but how does that play a factor? Because I remember reading, I mean, you're in New York, so you probably know better than I am, but I thought there was some reporting about some people not liking that as much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there was. And I just think it's probably got to be a little bit of a touchy subject when Jalen Brunson's your guy. Where are you going to go? You're not going to let him go. So I think they're kind of just stuck into all right, make it work type of thing. But I'm sure there probably was some friction with Tibbs and Rick Brunson and all of that.
Let me ask you this. If they were to somehow land Malik Beasley, would you put them at number 1 then?
I mean, you could totally make an argument for it. You really could. I think that Malik Beasley, Jordan Clarkson, Yabusele, all being...
You really like Jordan Clarkson.
Dude, what's not to like about him? I mean, he has the most points off the bench in the last
about him. He's been rotting over in Utah. He's not that good.
If you want to look up historic 6 men, he is one of the historic 6 men. He is.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, look, you're talking about a Knicks team. Have you seen their bench for the last few years? I mean, nobody
Deuce McBride, baby. Unleash McBride.
Yeah, look, I love me some Deuce McBride.
Is Precious back?
I think so, but
I didn't hear anything about him, so I don't know. I like Precious too. So does Rick Carlisle.
But yeah, exactly. But I think that I think Jordan Clarkson's going to have his moments with the Knicks on a minimum contract. I think it's a perfect addition for them. But yeah, that is the Eastern Conference from top to bottom. Let us know what you think. I think there's a lot of there could be some differences, but we obviously know sometimes these spots are decided by 1 or 2 games, so a lot could change.
All right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel on YouTube by hitting that subscribe button. If you like what you saw, hit that like button as well. Give us a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast on all audio platforms and leave us a 5-star rating and review. It does help us reach more of other Pacer fans out there that are looking for great Pacers content. And as you guys know, we put out content every single day. So even if it is maybe a little bit watered down to some people, we are still giving you the goods on a daily basis. So, Facci, with that being said, if you're hoping the Pacers can finish above the Bucks in the Eastern Conference next year, hit me with those 3 words.
Let's go, Pacers.
Setting the pace, going to the top. Setting the pace, going to the top. This is your #1 podcast. Sweeping every team, we gon' need a mop. Smooth.
Baby.